Charles Leclerc has finally done it. Whether a world championship ever happens for him in the Ferrari, he has checked off one of the biggest boxes in his career he could ever hope for. At the young age of 26, he faced an incredible amount of pressure to achieve victory in his home race that would otherwise seem a bit much for anyone else. But how did we get here? How did we get to the moment becoming so much more meaningful for one driver more than any other on the grid? And why or how did the pressure to win become so unusually intense? It all begins back in 2014, when a young and promising driver by the name of Jules Bianchi sat in the car of a backmarker team, the Ferrari-powered Marussia F1 racing team. Bianchi, on a beautiful Monaco Saturday afternoon, qualified in 19th position on the grid. Expectations were low for the team to do much, but Bianchi would go on to perform the greatest drive of his career, making up 10 grid positions and earning Marussia their first ever points in Formula One. It was the drive of the day, and in many respects, the drive of the year. Sadly though, a few months later, Bianchi would lose his life on a rainy day in Suzuka. But on that wonderful day in Monaco, he had one special fan who would never forget his heroic drive, his godson, the young and ambitious Charles Leclerc. Leclerc, true Monegasque, grew up in the motorsporting life as the son of a former F3 driver, Hervé Leclerc. Leclerc would begin his journey in karting in 2005. Over the course of 12 years, work his way up the ladder and ranks to the 2017 F2 World Championship. In 2018, he would replace Pascal Wehrlein on Team Sauber to become the first Monegasque driver since Oliver Beretta in 1994. Charles Leclerc's first try at the Monaco Grand Prix went without much note. He wasn't given a strong chance to score points in the Sauber and was eliminated in Q2 and qualified in 14th. He would collide with Brendan Hartley in the Toro Rosso and end his first Monaco Grand Prix as a DNF, finishing in 18th place. In 2019, Leclerc would be promoted to Ferrari. At the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix, Leclerc posted a time placing him 6th in Q1. The team chose to save his tires and park the car in the pits and wait for Q2. Unfortunately, in doing so, he was left vulnerable as he began to drop down the grid to 16th place, eliminating him in Q1, in what Ferrari would admit was a team error. He ultimately would finish the Sunday race dead last, due to damage sustained in an accident. The 2020 Monaco Grand Prix would not take place. For the first time since abandoning a race due to World War II, Monaco was cancelled due to the global COVID pandemic. 2021, Hamilton and Verstappen were in the midst of one of the great championship battles of all time that left Leclerc out of the running, but it was expected that the Monaco street course suited his car perfectly, and that it did, as Leclerc powered through the Principality, qualified on pole. But inexplicably, Leclerc would bottle the inline after his pole run, put his car into the wall. The car was inspected overnight, and it was expected that he would still be able to start on pole. But during a reconnaissance lap on Sunday, it was discovered that his drive shaft was in fact ruined. He could not race, stamping his race day classification, once again, dead last. The 2022 Monaco Grand Prix would see an early season matchup between Verstappen and Leclerc, with Verstappen ahead of Leclerc by 6 points. Going into round 7, Leclerc once again had the car best suited to the track and performed well in free practice, topping the timesheets in the first 2 sessions, establishing himself as the favorite. Qualifying would work out to perfection with a Ferrari 1-2 and Leclerc on pole. The race, however, was immediately marred by torrential rain, delaying the start, and then strike again in the midst of racing in heavy downpours on and off. Leclerc was still in the lead until he was called into pit, or stay out, or wait behind Sainz, who was in the pit and, well, park the car and wait for the tire valet to arrive, and effectively destroy his race in what Shaw would call a freaking disaster. 2023 would bring about the most dominant car in F1 history, the RB19. Max Verstappen held a vice grip on the entire F1 grid. Leclerc would find himself finishing in a promising P3 during qualifying, but would have to accept a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Lando Norris in Q3, relegating him to 6th, and ultimately a 6th-place finish on Sunday. A lot of the story around Leclerc, it was a bit fabricated, and a bit rooted in just a string of bad luck and misfortune. But with the whispers and unkind memes and tropes comes pressure. Whether it's reasonable storyline or not, fair or unfair, pressure mounts, and it was becoming a thing about Leclerc that followed him around like a dark cloud on a rather bright young man. And in 2024, he achieved just one of his dreams. He became the Monaco Grand Prix champion. Hopefully, now that the race is behind him, and the story, much like Norris's wins drama is now in the past, both he and Norris can move on to greater goals, like Constructors' title in 2024 perhaps, and possibly a world title in 2024 or 2025. That is, unless there are still hurdles ahead of them. Old and new, and well, old again. Regardless, this was a nice moment for F1. And if you liked the video, please subscribe. Please do check out my artwork. This is one I recently did of Shaw. Paint on canvas, one of a kind original. Let me know what you think. Thanks.